First there was blackness, the all-consuming blackness called the unknown. The unknown was the primordial, the matter that formed the original surrounding reality, in which nothing was visible but darkness. The world of our understanding was created when the unknown itself showed emotion by sensing its own presence. The moment the unknown realized that it was everything and reacted to itself, there was an explosion that splintered it. Its smallest particles became material and formed planets and stars. There was no longer a single unknown, it split into two equal but different parts. One part of the unknown became adherent to the old principle of lifelessness. This was the original essence of the unknown, which implied an omnipresent darkness where there was no place for life or death. The second, however, has become the exact opposite of the first. It exists in every living being, for we all are the fruits of a random emotion in the darkness that came from the unified unknown. The planet where Grealius was later formed was one of the first places where life originated. That is why such a strong abode of the second unknown was formed over it. But there are such concentrations all over the universe, all over the vast world. They exist over planets inhabited by sentient beings, those with emotions and feelings. The spectrum of life is vast, and it is not limited to our perception, vision, and interpretation of it. But not all planets have life. There are some where life does not exist. The force of the first unknown, at the moment of the splitting of the unity, swept over many earthly spheres and eradicated the life force on them. It was as if a mechanism functioned, rejecting that which was alien, rejecting life that was something new, something that had not been there before. But on those planets where life did originate, it began to thrive in one form or another. There are gradations of life forms. Those life forms that are capable of manifesting the main attribute of the second unknown, creation, are the highest, and only their essences ascend after bodily death. Other forms of life are in lower stages because of their less intimate connection with the second unknown. They exist guided only by instincts, and they are incapable of creation. But even such creatures have a chance to reach a higher level of existence by breaking the cycle of returning their essences to the same life forms. It all depends on the favor of the second unknown and how much their bond with it strengthens. Two fragments of a single whole that was once unknown can serve different principles, but they are neither alive nor dead. They are two facets of the split once whole. They are the essences of being that permeate the entire universe. The part of the unknown that has become the embodiment of life is sustained by the consciousness and faith of all living beings, whether they want it or not. As soon as the first sentient creatures appeared in their consciousness, the notion of someone much more powerful than themselves, of someone who looked down on them from the heavens and rewarded or punished them for certain deeds, was born. Thus, the concept of the Creator of the whole world and its inhabitants appeared. By inexhaustible faith, entities never seen before were brought to life. Before this happened, the essences of sentient living beings simply left their moribund bodily shelves and dissolved into the second unknown, returning to the source of their appearance. But the puppeteers above the sky had appeared, and they were the creatures who had previously lived in the mortal world. The invisible connection with the second unknown allowed them to be reborn as powerful beings in the sky, guided by its aspirations. Thus was born the order of the crusaders of the universe, beings who left the world of the living in the flesh and transpositioned themselves at the behest of the second unknown. True to the motifs of the essence that served to create them, the universe crusaders swore to protect it and all who practiced its principle. Due to their complete unity with the second unknown, the Ascended Ones began to create and develop the abode of the other world. But very soon, a new entity was reborn in the heavens, who subsequently became willing to oppose the will of the majority. He, once one of the staunchest and strongest followers of the principle of the first emotion, was defiled by the first unknown. After the seed of doubt about the righteousness and primordiality of the second unknown had germinated in his ascended being, after the realization of the true first order of the world had come to him, he called himself the Righteous One. He became the first to realize the futility of life itself and began to hatch a plan to plunge everything that had been born through the accidental realization by the unknown of its existence into the abyss. The first unknown took complete possession of the Righteous One, playing on the feelings of attachment that living beings normally feel for the opposite gender. The first unknown acted by the rules of its hated nemesis principle, but achieved what it wanted. As soon as the Righteous One saw the essence of things in a different light, a desire came to him to see new sentient beings who would embody the principle of true origins. Beings who would live in darkness, longing for the carnival of death, and thus for return to emptiness, to eternal nothingness. The Righteous One began to create, using his power over both the second and first unknowns, those who could bring back the former state of the world. It was then that judgments about good and evil appeared, where good became the personification of the concept of life, and evil of death. Not bodily death and subsequent ascension and rebirth, but death omnipresent, leading to the establishment of non-existence of the first unknown. The bodily death is only the beginning of the path of essence. Essence is the soul that lurks in every living being. It consists of all accumulated experiences, feelings, and memories of a person. When the time comes for the shell that preserves all this to end its existence, the essence rises to the boundary between the troposphere and the stratosphere. The region is almost equally close to the planet, the heavens, and the cosmos. An energetic flow then picks up the essence. This flow can be taken by either the second or the first unknown. It all depends on which one proves to be more committed to the essence. Thereafter, there is a rebirth with the realization of the true purpose of existence, a rebirth into a follower of one of the principles that eternally struggle at the intersection of time and space. Originally, the first unknown did not have the ability to take essences to itself, thus forming its followers, but thanks to the Righteous One, it gained such power. The Righteous One's actions and endeavors were certainly not approved by other universe crusaders, for two such opposing principles could not coexist. At least, such is the opinion of the Ascended Ones by the second unknown. But the truth is otherwise. Whatever the case may be regarding the coexistence of the two parts of the unknown, the Universe Crusaders were right in that, if the plans of the Righteous One became a reality in full, the world of the living in the flesh would become the epitome of chaos. Bloodshed and suffering would have no measure, and eventually everyone would be wiped out. The first unknown would sense the weakness of the second unknown, and take advantage of it so that in each of its abodes a different Righteous One would appear, bringing the same plan to fruition. Then the entire universe would return to its origins, to nothingness. The Universe Crusaders could not allow this to happen and opposed their former brother. In offense, the Righteous One sowed in all new newborn sentient creatures feelings of anger, envy, hatred, and thirst for violence. On the dwarves he imposed the curse of the crystal, thereby inflicting on them endless torment and enmity with the neighboring people. The Universe Crusaders, joining forces, tried to destroy the Righteous One by splitting his essence, but they failed. The Righteous One became a kind of manifestation of the first unknown itself. He was its firstborn. The principle of primordiality could not afford to lose him. The Universe Crusaders had only succeeded in relegating the Righteous One back to the perishable world in the shadow of his former self. He could no longer influence the course of the world order, but he still had the power to subdue the weak and defile the essences of those living in the flesh. And the Righteous One found a man who was eager to become the king of the world. But this man was not a nobleman. He was a beggar with a hatred of all things. The Righteous One whispered in the poor man's ear that he would have power over the world if he made a contract with him and gave him his wish. The man agreed. He made the contract with the Righteous One in the fields of Gilead, in the mill he had crawled into when he was on the verge of death from hunger. The poor man, accepting the offer of an entity unclear to him, fell into the net of deception. The Righteous One took the man's wish and granted him the illusion that he had created Grealius. The Righteous One named him Elucidov, thus mocking the members of the Circle of Light, the strongest of the Universe Crusaders, who overthrew him. In Elucidov, the Righteous One put his own principles and plan of action. He began to channel his will through him. The two became inseparable through the crowns that crowned them as a symbol of the contract. Eventually, the Righteous One used his new tool to create lands in the sky over Quilia and Wesk. By hiding his presence in one of them, the Righteous One managed to make sure that no one realized what he was up to. The Righteous One also extracted from Elucidov all of his emotions, both positive and negative, that he had experienced throughout his life. These served as the raw material for the creation of the Righteous One's inner circle. Elucidov was emptied of his ego. His body and mind now belonged entirely to the Righteous One. The Righteous One created the chests, and they appeared in Grealius to be opened millennia later by Asmund, a new maintainer of the line between principles of good and evil in the minds of all sentient beings living in Grealius.